What began as a peaceful Hanukkah gathering by the sea turned into one of the deadliest terror attacks in Australia's history.
Yesterday was an act of pure evil, an act of terror, an act of anti-Semitism, an attack on the first day of Hanukkah targeted at the Jewish community. A dark day in Australia's history on what should have been a day of light.
On Sunday evening, families gathered at Bondi Beach in Sydney to mark the first night of Hanukkah. Children played near the sand, people sang, prayed and shared food. Around 1,000 people were present. But just before 7 in the evening, gunfire shattered the celebration. Police say the attack began around 6:45 p.m. at Archer Park next to Bondi Beach. Footage shows 2 gunmen standing on a pedestrian bridge overlooking the park. From there, they opened fire using long guns. Witnesses say the shooting went on for several minutes. People ran in all directions. Many fled barefoot across the sand. Bags, shoes and toys were left behind as panic quickly spread. Multiple videos captured the final phase of the attack. One gunman wearing white trousers left the bridge and moved closer towards the crowd. He positioned himself near a pool and fired at close range. Minutes later, a bystander rushed towards the attacker. Ahmed El Ahmed, a local fruit seller, tackled the gunman from behind, wrestled the rifle away from him and forced him to retreat. The attacker dropped the weapon and hid behind a tree. Ahmed El Ahmed was shot twice during the struggle. He was later taken to hospital and remains under medical care. Australian leaders have said his actions saved countless lives.
The doctor is very okay, and next 2 hours they let us to go in and see Ahmed because he's still inside and he do the operation. But we hope he will be fine. He's a hero, 100% he's a hero.
But the pause did not last very long. The attacker in white trousers returned to the bridge with yet another weapon and began firing all over again. The second gunman, wearing black trousers, continued firing in both directions for more than a minute before he too was shot. Police reached the bridge about 7.5 minutes after the footage began. One attacker was dead at the scene, the other was critically wounded. Police later confirmed that the gunmen were father and son, Sajid and Naveed Akram. The father was 50 years old. He arrived in Australia in 1998 on a student visa and later moved to a partner visa. He legally owned 6 firearms and was part of a gun club. He was shot and killed by the police at the scene. The son is 24-year-old Naveed. He was born in Australia and is an Australian citizen. He remains in hospital under police guard and is expected to face charges. Authorities say the son had come to the attention of security agencies in 2019 but was not seen as an immediate threat at that time. Police say 6 firearms owned by the father were recovered. 4 were found at the scene. 2 more were seized during raids at homes linked to the suspects. Bomb disposal teams also removed multiple improvised explosive devices. 2 were found near the beach. Another was later located at Bondi. Investigators are examining whether the devices were meant to be used during the attack. Australian authorities have officially declared the shooting as a terrorist act. They say the target was clear. The victims were attending a Jewish religious celebration. Police are investigating possible extremist links. Reports say flags linked to the Islamic State group were found inside a vehicle connected to the attackers. Police have not independently confirmed this information. At least 15 people were killed. The youngest was 10-year-old Matilda. She had come with her family to celebrate Hanukkah. She later died in hospital. Among the dead were 2 rabbis, including Rabbi Eli Schlanger, one of the event's organizers. A Holocaust survivor, Alexander Kleytman, was also killed. His family says he died while shielding his wife from gunfire. Other victims included a former police officer, an Israeli citizen, a French national, and a member of the local Jewish community. The oldest victim was 87 years old. More than 40 people were initially taken to hospital. As of Monday, 27 remain under treatment across Sydney. Several are in critical condition. 2 police officers were also shot while responding to the attack.
It's just grief, utter grief. Anger will set in, but at the moment it's more disbelief than anything. And on the one hand, I think everyone knew this was going to happen sooner or later with the trajectory that we were on as a society. But for it to actually happen here at our Hanukkah event in Bondi Beach, which every year is just the most beautiful family event with kids running around, and you know, it's a celebration. And to think that people were there with heavy weapons, picking off children and the elderly, and just getting all the facts this morning and hearing about more dead and people dying overnight in the hospital and the ages of the deceased. A man who I knew very well in his 90s is dead, a survivor of the Holocaust. The rabbi, who's a dear, dear friend of mine and was really a pillar of our community, did so much for everybody. He's among the dead. It's just impossible to rationalize and comprehend that this has happened.
On Monday, thousands gathered at Bondi Pavilion to mourn. Flowers covered the ground, handwritten notes lined the walls. Australian and Israeli flags were raised, prayers were held and hymns were sung. Leaders from across the country joined members of the Jewish community in silence. World leaders condemned the attack. The United States, Britain, India, Germany and the United Nations described it as an anti-Semitic act of terror. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu blamed political rhetoric abroad for rising anti-Semitism.
Anti-Semitism is a cancer. It spreads when leaders stay silent. It retreats when leaders act. I call upon you to replace weakness with action, appeasement with resolve. Instead, Prime Minister, you replaced weakness with weakness and appeasement with more appeasement. Your government did nothing to stop the spread of anti-Semitism in Australia. You did nothing to curb the cancer cells that were growing inside your country. You took no action. You let the disease spread. And the result is the horrific attacks on Jews we saw today.
Australian leaders rejected the link but acknowledged growing hate crimes. Australia already has some of the strictest gun laws in the world. Still, the leadership says tougher rules will now be discussed, including limits on gun licenses and ownership.
We're looking at that as we speak. I think it's time that we have a change to the law in relation to the firearms legislation in New South Wales, but I'm not ready to announce it today. We want to make sure that prospective reform and change in New South Wales has a lasting impact, but it's not the last time I'll be mentioning it, and you can expect action soon.
Police are reviewing how legally owned firearms were used in a terror attack. The investigation is ongoing.
Fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing.